Welcome everybody to the HEAL Report, the fourth episode of the HEAL Report. I'm Nick Costello. I'm the president of HEAL, Home to Enhance African Life, and I'm with my colleague, Deacon Leo Okonkwo, the founder of HEAL and of the Messengers of Justice Sisters. And today we're going to be showing you some brand new video from the mission in Nigeria, in southeast Nigeria, so it's really exciting. HEAL, our mission is forming servant leaders through education, poverty relief, and entrepreneurship, all in the self-emptying spirit of Christ. This episode of HEAL Report, we're going to share with you how the Messengers of Justice Sisters and the children, the masters as we call them, are surviving through this COVID-19 lockdown period, which is causing so many problems. But we're going to show you some positive video today. And so welcome to the show. So, what we're going to touch upon today is just some of the activities of the Messengers of Justice, Sisters, and the children. So these are our students. They're enrolled in our two rural village schools, Bumpka and MEMS. So the children are still working with the MOJ Sisters. We're keeping them busy. We're going to show you today about some of their farming activities, also about how some of the missionaries were called into this mission, and we're going to show you a little bit about how we're entertaining ourselves, how the missionaries and the sisters and the children are keeping themselves entertained and happy even during this very stressful time. So what we're going to show regarding the farming, is something that is part of the mission, agriculture. And during my trip, my recent travels to Nigeria, I've participated in this aspect of the mission. I want to share with you a photo or two. And this is me with Sister Chizite a few years ago, and she was teaching me how to plant cassava, which you're going to see a little bit more of today in our presentation. And I'm just showing you this because HEAL, our mission, is not just about looking on from afar upon the good deeds of the Messengers of Justice or of the other lay missionaries, but it's to inspire people to participate, to become active in the mission and in the work and in the apostolate of the mission, because that's what self-emptying is all about. It's that sacrifice and that self-emptying that makes us true servants. So we're not just casual observers. And so, Leo, what we're going to show people now in some of these video clips that you provided for us from the mission grounds, first it has to do with this farming. It has to do with this agriculture and the arable land that is surrounding our two schools. And while the schools are closed during this lockdown, we have a lot more time for this farming. So, we're going to show something here about cassava farming and about putting the missionaries to work. That's our first clip we're going to show here. But do you want to break the ice for us on what we're going to see here?
Yes, the agricultural dimension of Water for Life, or Messengers of Justice, commonly known as Compassionate Companions of the Missionaries. And now we speak of Heal, Home to Hands Africa. It's an aspect of the mission that is fundamental, that is the rudiment, the basis of our original operation, that is the African child helping himself, the African child taking responsibility of his own environment and of tilling the soil and growing food for himself and his family.
Yes.
So it is in essence the missionaries getting to their roots, the missionaries becoming part of the feeding culture of themselves and the poor, the masters, the marginalized. So every member, including myself, as far back as 1997 and 2000, when this mission started its various manifestations, have always stressed, I have always stressed to myself and to the members that we emptying ourselves has no limits. It is both spiritual self-emptying, physical self-emptying.
Yes.
What you see is the missionaries combining these various aspects of physical and spiritual self-emptying in action, as they say, agere, action flowing from who they are.
Yes. And so here we're going to show a quick video of this work being commenced, and this is from Umuagu village, and what Deacon Leo just talked about here regarding the African child and the necessity, of feeding oneself, and we're going to see here the skills that are being practiced, in that crucial part of our mission. So here's our first clip for you. Well, I think Sister Anna Kweji, who is the matron of MEMPS, has things under control there. She's directing everybody on how to plant the cassava. And so it's interesting what she mentioned about the cassava branches. They need to be cut so that they're more easy to plant. And then she directed Sister Ann, the other Sister Ann, to plant some corn. And she welcomed a couple of the other new people into the field who are working with the children. So, can you tell us a little more about about this farming work that Sister Ann's directing, Deacon Leo?
What I see in this particular clip and the direction of Sister Ann's, every year we do have our palm plantations, and trying as much as we can to grow crops, grow food. Here, last week we talked about the missionaries going on outreach to feed the poor, to feed the marginalized, to feed those who are being impacted negatively by hunger virus. This week we are exhausted of what we have, and so they are back to Umuagu community to cultivate the soil and to plant, as it were, the crops, cassava. Cassava is a staple food, one of the staple food of the Nigerians. And I will say, it is very, very crucial, because from there we draw the tubers, with which we prepare gari or fufu, that is stable for almost every Nigerian. And having this done at this time is also a reflection of preparation for the difficulties that is ahead of us. We don't know where we're heading with COVID-19.
Right.
But certainly it has been of essence that the missionaries find this time, instead of being out there, and when they are not out there, they are in the farm being busy, and then forming the children also, because this is all part of the child formation, the character formation, the responsibility and duty.
Yes.
Which is all Sister Anne is going to incorporate in that video.
Yeah, that's right. And like you mentioned, we have this food bridge, this food relief operation going now. We've distributed everything that we have, and thankfully we have some more coming. But we have to get out there and plant. We have to get out there and get, another planting, cultivating, and harvesting process going. And cassava, as you mentioned, is the staple food, one of the staple foods of Nigeria. And what we're going to watch next, Deacon Leo, and show our viewers is the actual planting process of cassava. And I've eaten cassava before in my travels, and with the children. And it looks like mashed potatoes on your plate. But this is a food that's nutritious and has that nutritional value, for the children. Before we show this next clip, Leo, could you briefly give us maybe a nutritional overview of cassava and what it means nutritionally for the people?
It's a root crop. Cassava is a root crop, a tuber in it, tuber root crop. And basically, it is the source of starch and carbohydrates, therefore. And it's eaten for this purpose of energy generation, to give empowerment, to give strength, energy to the one who has consumed cassava. And cassava can be consumed in various forms as gari, eaten with sauce, with Nigerian kind of soup, and all drunk as what we say smoke, as just water mixed up with water and with cold water. And it can also be used to prepare fufu, which is when it is fermented and then prepared, and it has a young cassava flour and prepared for consumption, again with soup. So all through the use of sauce, and then also for the generation and creation of energy.
Yes. So, and I think that is critical for the diet, and so we'll show you here how the planting process for cassava goes. Okay, well, we saw there, again, Sister Ann putting on a clinic of how to plant cassava. We can see how she's teaching the children how to plant it, instructing them in some basic agricultural techniques, which we can see that, Sister Ann has much experience in how the planting process should go, and I think this is so valuable for the children to be learning this, in their context. And I just wanted to share a photo really quickly. This is me in 2014, my first trip to Nigeria, and I'm eating gari. So this is gari. This is the food that is made out of cassava. So after the cassava plant is harvested, then the MOJ Sisters prepare it into gari. There's a food processing that goes into that, and this is how it ends up on the plate. It kind of looks like your mashed potatoes. So yes, a very, very healthy and very important for the diet for the masters. So, as you mentioned, Deacon Leo, this is part of the formation, part of the spirituality, the manual labor, but the agriculture. It's the way we sustain ourselves nutritionally in the mission. You mentioned the self-emptying. That goes into the very work, of the planting and harvesting. So this is, part of that formation of the children into servant leaders. And, what we're going to show people now is some of the missionaries, some of the aspirants, to the Messengers of Justice Sisters, and also one of the lay people in the mission, and share with people what their stories are in terms of how God has called them into this mission, where all of this hard work, like planting cassava out in the open air all day long, is part of what the calling is. So what do you want to say, Leo, about these people? About your followers, people who've come into this mission, like we're going to see here in these next clips that we're going to show.
Yeah, the activity of the compassionate companions of the poor, or aka Messengers of Justice, has always been, as I said one time ago, as we learned in the nursery, kindergarten school in those days, we call it Otakara school, for the children. Do as I do, don't worry, I do. It's a slogan. Every child, both old now and young, knew that story, that song. And so it is about doing action. I said Ajere before. It's about participation, involvement, activity. We are always called then to get involved in this agro-based emancipation school of excellence. I call it ABASE.
Yes.
And in this ABASE, the formation of the Messengers of Justice is to become independent, is to make them self-reliant, is to make them rather providers rather than takers.
Yes.
From the church of God, from the people of God. So when I told them I come in, I become your slave, I become your servant, that you may give yourself as servant and slave for the poor and masters, the brothers of Jesus, the brothers and sisters of Jesus. In this format, they learn, we learn how to become specialists. That's why I say agro-based emancipation. We emancipate from poverty, we emancipate from hunger, we emancipate from dependency to independency, to satisfaction, and to provision.
Yes.
And so every member who comes in, though we are lawyers, though we will be lawyers, but that's what my charism is guided towards, to defend the poor and the marginal.
Yes.
So I told them, you will be trained in all these professionals, areas of life, medical doctors, this, that. But you remember, we will always go down to the earth.
Yes.
To harness the fruits that will give hope, that will give energy, that will give sustenance to the people. And so it became part of our formation. We had piggery, over 900 pigs.
Yes.
We had poultry, over 2,000 birds. We had pineapple plantation, palm plantations. I bought properties around this area to make sure that this independency, this self-reliance, this ability to provide for others can be in the hands of every community of the messengers of justice, of the compassionate companions of the poor, in
Yes.
a church, in the dioceses where we are.
Yes.
So that's really
Yes.
what you see.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's what is drawing, new people to the messengers of justice. And so we're going to show you now a young lady, who's out working, and she'll tell you a little bit about how she was drawn, how God drew her into the mission. Well, first thing I want to thank our cameraman there, Gift, who's the one interviewing Immaculata, who's an aspirant to the message of justice. Maybe not quite a postulant yet, but she's there testing the waters. And so thank you, Gift, for getting that footage for us. And I was struck by what she said about, she believes she has what it takes to be an MOJ because she's got faith in God. But she said it's challenging, it's difficult, and she mentioned going out into the village with food for the food distribution that we've been doing, to help people during this hunger crisis due to the lockdown period. So Immaculata mentioned how challenging that was. But she's out there working, she's doing it. And so, Leo, I know you've seen many postulants or aspirants come and go. So what can you tell us about that process?
Yeah. Postulancy or aspirancy is a stage in the religious formation of a member in either association or public association in the Catholic Church or in any religious formal setting. As in our case, you move from postulancy to novitiate, and then after your 1 to 2 years formation in the novitiate, you become a committed or what we call a professed member. You take your vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So in our mission, we also take the oath of companionship. That is to say, we take the oath that we will remain with the poor. We will be their companion for life. So, and this is one of the things I think the young lady, Immaculata, is referring to, because part of that oath of companionship is demonstrated by this presence in the farm, presence in the caring of the people when everybody in COVID-19, for example, lockdown, is inside. The messengers of justice are not expected, the compassionate companions of the poor are not expected, the lay missionaries of Hill and the MOJ are not expected to be in blood. They are expected to be the front line, being part and parcel of the sustenance and the support of the poor and the marginalized. And that, she was very correct, is very, very challenging. It's challenging because it calls for a denial of the self.
Yes.
The selfless service. It calls for authenticity. You have to be authentic. What you profess have to match with what you believe and what you are doing. Is actually a sequitur esse. Is action flowing from who you are.
Yes.
There is no reason why you should be dancing something else and what you are wearing is dancing something else. There is a synchronization. There is a togetherness, a concomitant, a communion, and a union that is felt. And this calls for a whole life giving of oneself without reservation.
Yes.
Without,
yeah, that's absolutely right. And, you really expressed that well, and, I think we're going to be praying for Immaculata, that, God continue to draw her, into whatever her mission is. And we hope, for the sake of our mission, she chooses the messengers of justice. So, but now it's not only people called to the religious life, as Immaculata may be, but it's also laymen and women who are drawn by this spirituality, which again is, I think, essential to all Christians. Anyone calling themselves Christian, that self-emptying service, is perfectly modeled in our Lord, and written about by St. Paul. Philippians chapter 2, verse 6 to 11 is the passage that we refer people to for further meditation. But laymen are called as well, and so we have a great example in our next clip, of a young man who has come out of the volunteer corps, but now has really dedicated, much of the recent part of his life, to this mission. So, can you talk about this lay dimension, Deacon Leo? How the mission has grown, with that lay collaboration and drawing people in, in that capacity. Before we show this clip.
Yes, the members of the lay group of our institution, growing actually from the lay, it's important to realize that when I started the mission in 1997, it was just lay people who were young people, friends of mine, and who became interested in the kind of thing I was doing, selfless services, and decided to be part of what I was doing, not as religious, who now began that. And in the process, the religious was thrown out of. And that is it. So the lay missionaries are volunteers, volunteer workers. They begin to volunteer their life. And in the process of this volunteering for nothing except for the service of the poor, they become, as it were, patterns of self-emptying. And then begin to demonstrate to the world, especially influencing the religious concept, the religious vow, the real essence of the vow of poverty, to own nothing, to be attached to nothing of all they have, which is actually the essence of the vow of poverty. And in the expression of obedience, unconditionally, they demonstrate the absolute nature of Jesus Christ's behavior and attitude in Philippians chapter 2, verse 5, by putting on the mind and heart that is like that of Christ. So the lay group also, like the religious, got this kernel, this substance, this essence of the life of Jesus and the life of the follower of Jesus, who in the form of God, who has all that it takes, but emptied it all and then took the form of a slave. That's really the life. And every lay person, as well as every religious, can practice this lifestyle.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not just for the religious alone. And that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
Because of time, let me stop here. Because of time. Next time I'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will.
Joy.
We will do that. But now we'll show a real live example with a young friend of ours who has contributed so much to the mission, and he'll tell you himself. So here we go.
So can you just tell us your story, joining the sisters and working with them? At least how long you have been with the sisters, and then how you are getting on? Wow. Sure.
And then
Okay, well, we've heard from our friend Gift, and you know what is really amazing about him and what he said there is how, you know, he originally was just going to go to university. After he graduated from university, just go find a job and then, earn his living and live in comfort, I think is the way he put it. But as Providence had it, he was assigned to Bumka during his National Youth Service Corps period, and he was inspired. He experienced the messengers of justice and their way of life, and he decided to stay. And for people who don't know, the National Youth Service Corps is a 1-year mandatory service that university graduates in Nigeria they're assigned a year of service somewhere, and so we were fortunate to have Gift come to Bumka, and now he's been with us for 3 years. So what do you think about what Gift was saying, Deacon Leo, with respect to how this and you can see how joyful he is. So what do you think about what he was saying?
Yeah, the general perspective of every young man or woman everywhere, I would say practically everywhere in the world, is always to finish education and become sort of a provider and also make their wealth. That's exactly what he's saying, but he seems to be suggesting that his encounter with the messengers of justice, with the spirituality of self-empty, sort of question that particular perspective. Because here we demonstrate detachment from wealth. Even though we have the wealth, or even though we are creating entrepreneurship skills to generate wealth, even though we are empowering the marginalized, the poor, the young orphans to become authorities and responsible men and women. But we do not attach ourselves to wealth. And here, the whole pursuit for wealth, the whole capitalist mentality, as it were, tells the youth that there is more to life than material wealth.
Yes.
And so it is that meaning, that sense of new meaning, that he has, sort of appropriated for himself in the mission, and now wish to give his life for that purpose.
That's right.
And so I think that the lay association perspective and the calling, and though he is not a religious, as in a reverend, a deacon like myself, or a priest, or a bishop, but he still know that, like you, Nick, that he can be a lay missionary.
That's
he can
right.
Still devote himself like one of your audience in soldiers, servant soldiers, John Craig.
Right.
He can give himself, even as a low person, to demonstrate the life of Jesus, the self-emptying life of Jesus in Philippians chapter 2, by putting on, because that's the first thing.
Yes.
Putting on the heart and mind that is like that of Christ Jesus. And what is it? He had all the knowledge. He has become a degree holder who should be out there making money and growing in wealth. But he gave it all up and took the form of this.
Right.
This servant.
Right. That's right. And he is still creating wealth. He's creating great value for others, for these children, because, as he said there, we heard him. He's doing the computer class. He's teaching the computers. He's our videographer. You can see him out there in the field, farming. So Gift is really someone who can do it all, and we're really blessed. He's part of our team. So now that we've kind of come to the end of our presentation here, but we want to leave people with the understanding that it's not all blood and sweat and toil out in the field, but the MOJs and the masters, the children, together, they have a lot of fun, don't they, Deacon Leo? I mean, they do many different things to keep themselves entertained. And we're going to show people now in this last clip some, one of their means of keeping themselves entertained and having, some fun together. And I think people will realize it's a little bit different than how we sometimes, try to have fun here in the United States or in the land of luxury, let's say, or in the land of the internet. So can you speak a little bit about that, before we show this clip?
Yeah, just that common English saying, all works and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And I would say a dull girl. So it's a participation, it's a recreational exercise that is all part of the life of the community. And we are not just sweating out there, but we are also enjoying it. It's an enjoyment, part of humanization. We become part of who we are, part of the nature, our environment, and part of the culture that is with us and in us. And so it's a gift of the presence of one another, from labor to enjoyment of the fruits of labor.
Yes. Yes. So that's right. It's so important. So we'll show people now, this form of entertainment. So we saw Gift again leading that circle of children in this game of concentration. So Gift is he's out there. He's doing everything. So you can see he's he's really a leader. But what struck me about this, Deacon Leo, is how they're sitting in a circle, all facing each other, playing this game, and they're laughing and having fun. And this is something that many of us in maybe in the Western world or in the United States, we're getting our entertainment more and more from technology or from looking at our phones or looking at a screen, with our internet connections. Of course, internet's a good tool. We're using it right now. But we're missing something also, I believe, which we can perceive in how the children here are entertaining themselves. Can you talk about maybe the spiritual dimension of that?
Yeah, interpersonalism or person-to-person relationship is something that is precious in the culture of the world, especially Africa. In African culture and philosophy, we use the word Afro-humanism. That is the African man or African person being present to himself and to others in a humanistic, in a communion and union, communication format, so that you deal with your brother and your sister. It is different from mechanical relationship. If I go too further, I would say it will be different from just objects, treating one another as objects rather than as subject, as a person. So it is that culture, that philosophy, that theory, that relationship that is reflected in the personal relationship that you see in this form of interaction that you don't get when you are interacting with objects or with internet or all the goods that are in the social media. But this is something that these children have to learn from this age. At this age, it's part of our character formation, as I explained it in the life of the sister.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's one African philosopher I read once. I think he put it in this way: there's no we without me, and no me without we in the African understanding. But I might be paraphrasing him, but that's the general idea.
And of course, Emmanuel Munyenye, as well as Babutin and Martin Buba, all have expressed the culture of I, we, and we, I, and I, you, I, thou, and the rest of it.
That's right.
But our reason here is personalization.
Yes.
Personalism, being person. And that is promoting the dignity of human person. That leads to the acting person of Pope John Paul, St. John Paul II, in his, acting person, moral dissertation.
That's right.
A culture of person and the value of person is very important for messengers of justice, for the compassionate companion of the poor, for heal and for water for life.
And that's right. So we can see that entertainment that we just witnessed is more than just an entertainment value. There's a real educational value, to that type of entertainment. And I think it's much better than what many of us, in the technological Western context, are experiencing right now, where we're relating more to our screens or to interfaces than to people. So while we use this technology for good, we have to remember, it can't replace what's essential. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. I'd like to thank everybody again for meeting with us today. We've got something very exciting for you next Saturday, a week from today. So news about that will be coming out this week in our newsletter and in our notice email for next Saturday's live stream presentation. So please join us again next week and share this video far and wide with your contacts. And God bless you until next time.